Okay, so this is kind of where I left off. I just made that mountain graphic smaller with the free transform tool. And then I am now going to bring in the image that I have up here of the hikers kind of looking off into the distance. So we'll use that rectangle frame tool one more time here. We'll just click and drag and kind of try to get it positioned, you know, roughly the way we think we need it to be. If I ever need to change the dimensions of the box, I can always use the black arrow tool and just change it by clicking and dragging on these little white boxes here. I think that's about right. And then we want to just make sure when we're on this that I got back on here, the frame fit tool, but let's just go to the auto fit here before we do a file place to bring in those hikers. Once again, I'm in the column view, so I can kind of just use my arrow tool to kind of go through and find the images of the hikers that I want to use. So if I push W, I can kind of see where that's at. And then if I do arrange, send to back, we can kind of see where this thing, this smaller graphic with the mountains, I think I will make it a little less crooked and bring it down a little bit more so that it's actually kind of cutting this off a little bit. A little bit better. And one thing, I can do a Command plus to zoom in or use the zoom tool, but I'm going to click on this and then I will use this gradient feather tool just on the very bottom here to soften the edge. Now if I used it up here, you can see what it does. It will actually feather your image out completely so that it's transparent. But I just want to just soften this one edge just so that I don't have a hard line here. I still am kind of getting one. It's probably just because I have to maybe stack this up even thicker. I don't want to make it too busy though. Because then it's going to get too crazy. So I have two of these now, basically. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push shift to get them both selected. And then I'm going to use the alignment. I'm going to align them to the top, and I'm going to align them to the side. And I'm going to arrange, send to back, which will be too far back. But if I grab my black arrow tool and get on this image and go arrange, send to back, that'll put it behind there. I'm going to actually grab these two by clicking and dragging with my black arrow tool to get both selected, and then I'm going to do a Command G to group them. There's also group and ungroup over here, usually in the quick actions area of the properties panel. But so if I want to grab this, they'll move as two. They'll move as one thing instead of two. And if I do that, that'll actually, the thickness of the two of those being stacked up on each other will actually help me get rid of the line that was bothering me. And I can actually kind of make this more, maybe a little bit more like this now, because before I was having a hard time getting it to kind of look the way I wanted it to. And I want to make sure that I'm, you know, actually using my image, using my image the way that I should. I might actually size it up this way a little bit, just so that these images of these people shows through. And I'm going to use my white arrow tool to grab the actual JPEG at its original proportion. And I believe this is a JPEG. Maybe we can look in the links panel. Yep, it's a JPEG. And just kind of make sure that I'm framing them in there well. So if I push W, you can see there's a lady here. We can see her pretty well. So we just want to make sure that we're, you know, positioning our images correctly so that they are still on the bleed line, but still being able to be cropped inside, inside of our area the way we want them to be cropped. So I'm having, I'm having a few issues down here. Maybe I can just kind of bring this down a little bit. And then I think I might still try to feather this out with the gradient feather tool just to try and get rid of this extra little problem that I'm having over here, especially in this corner. You can kind of experiment with it. I mean, if you go up higher, it starts to work up higher. I just need it probably from here down. Something like maybe, oops, see, it starts to pop back up. So that's probably going to work pretty well for me. I think on my other one, I had it more lined up. It looks better on this one, honestly, but, you know, this is just supposed to be kind of a quick thing. But I'm going to try and line this up with these other mountain ranges. And I guess I can just crop this. And if I need to move this lady down at all, I can use the white arrow tool to kind of move the JPEG around inside of the frame that we created. So that's looking, you know, pretty decent. I would like there to be more of an angle on this, but I don't want to spend any more time than I already have trying to get that right. So let's just go into our text and start adding text in. So basically, you know, this is for Haver Trails. They have this slogan. Here's their logo. I put the Haver Montana, find us on Facebook. So I will start bringing some of that stuff in. So do a file place. We'll look for this logo. I did give you guys the logo for Haver Trails. Oops. Maybe we'll use the frame tool because it's so big. So draw a box. They're roughly the size that you would like it to be. Go into properties, make sure auto fit is selected, do file place or Command D, and go to your logo that you want to bring in and push open. And luckily that's really nice. That worked really well. Let's add in a white background. So you can also use your swatches panel, and they have a white in here. That's pretty nice. If I do kind of a Command plus, I can get a little bit closer and possibly they've changed this, which is annoying to me, but let me try and figure this out. Okay, I found a way around it. They used to do things a little differently in here. They're always updating the software, so. But I'm gonna put a stroke on this logo. So I filled it in white because it had a transparent background. I believe it's a PNG file. So if we look in the links, it is a PNG. So if I take this fill color off, you can see that it was totally see-through. But I'll just fill that back in with white, and I got that from the swatches panel. But I will put a white border on the stroke as well. Sometimes there's a apply color down here. It basically puts your most recently used color. So it's kind of a quick way of doing that. And then I'm going to go to stroke, and I'm going to make the stroke. You can also do this in the properties panel. There's a stroke section right here. But sometimes I like going into the stroke panel because I feel like it shows more. And then if I put the stroke so that it goes on the outside of like the path, and the anchor point right here will be the, you know, this is the anchor point on the edge of the box. So if I select this, it'll actually put the stroke on the outside of the bounding box, which is kind of what I want. And then if I do Command 0, kind of zero that out, I can kind of move this around and change it. Push Shift if you move stuff around. If you want to change the size, push Shift. So yeah, that's not bad. And then we can add our text down here. I might actually move all of this up just a smidge, so I have a little bit more room at the bottom of my brochure to write some text. So we'll put in Haver Trails with the text tool. So click and drag. Haver Trails. Can't remember what I used here. Montserrat. So I think I have it installed. I think this is one that I downloaded from like Font Squirrel or something. I have quite a few of them, but I think maybe it's probably like black. And then I'll just make that bigger. I can center it up here, or in the properties panel there's also extra different things you can use here. So I'll just kind of fill this in with my text, and we can go from there. Okay, so I typed the rest of my text. So this is all going to be in blackjack, so I'll highlight that and go to blackjack. It's not, they don't have a bold, unfortunately, but I have found a workaround to add a stroke to the highlighted text here. So I'm actually just going to put like 0.25 stroke on it. Nothing more than that. If I go too big with it, it starts to look like weird looking and blurry. So this is just kind of an easy way to make something bolder. And then in between, I like to sometimes put either like shift and hold down and make this little dash type thing like this. Or another nice little thing is if you push option and then push 8, it makes a little dot for you. And I think it might be Alt 8 on a PC to get the little dots. And then I think for this text I still did Montserrat, but it's just a lot smaller and it's a semi-bold. So not as bold and just quite a bit smaller than this text. And then if I want to change the colors or the spacing, we can do that too. So we'll start with the spacing. I'll just click and drag over this line of text, go into the properties panel, and then this is the leading. So I can actually create more space here. I probably want to maybe, if you triple click, you can get a whole line selected. And I'm just going to use the leading in the properties panel to create spaces between the lines. That's looking better. And then if I want to change the color, I think I had kind of a nice white color mixed with a kind of a darker blue. So I'll go back in here, highlight this, you know, double click and try to find kind of a nice blue color. Probably something like that. And if I want to add this to my swatches so that I can use it again, I can just do a control click or a right click and do add to swatches. And then if I go into my swatches panel, it should be down here. So that's nice to do that if you have colors that you're reusing a lot. If you are doing something with a little bit of branding to it, you're probably definitely going to want to save your colors in the swatches so that you can use exactly the same color. When I did that, it took my stroke off, so I have to put it back on. Okay, good. So I changed the color to white there. I used my swatches and I went to white. I highlighted the text, obviously. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. We might want to just stretch the text box all the way to the line. That will be the fold line, just so that this is centered perfectly in that space. So that's looking pretty good. I think the green color that I have here is maybe a little bit lighter. Maybe something closer like that would be good. And now I can just continue to add text in this thing. I'll do the find us on Facebook and the icon, and then I'll show you how to kind of bring in the brochure body text as well. Okay, so I'm going to bring the about and get involved text in here, and I think it's a good place to start is with the about. And this will be basically the same, the second page that the person sees when they open the brochure. So this will be the first page when they open it. This page will be folded in and they'll see this first. So it kind of makes sense chronologically to put, you know, the things that they're going to be reading first on the inside panel that's going to be folded on the, so let's go, let's make sure I'm in the right folder here. And I'm going to go into, so I think, okay, I've lost where my brochure text is. Well, I'll do that in the next video. I'm out of time anyway.